welcome to One Real Story, and this is Real Talk. This is our short segment where we highlight entrepreneurs and their businesses with quick tips and advice. And today we have Victoria Brannon.
Hi.
She is the founder and business owner of Hugs and Hustle coaching business. Say that 3 times fast. So Hugs and Hustle coaching business.
Yes.
It's not funny, but it is legit. She is a superstar, rock star at what she does, as well as she owns Creative Event Agency, CEA.
CEA, yeah.
That's your 3-letter agency, you all.
Yep.
So, welcome again.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you here. So, look, what is Hugs and Hustle coaching business all about?
Well, that's a loaded question. I'll make it short. So Hugs and Hustle, it started more as a healing coaching business, and it's turned into a positive mindset coaching business. And I take a lot of experiences and trial and error from my life, past relationship trauma, parental, things, friendships, and I just kind of tell my story and coach through that. And yeah, it's evolving constantly. So
okay, that's pretty cool. So then, so why hustle though? What do you know about the hustle? Hugs and Hustle. How do you came up with that name?
Hugs and Hustle. It's actually really funny. I was on a Zoom call with a big group of people in a coaching program. And someone had a shirt that said something hustle. And I thought it said Hugs and Hustle, and it removed itself and it said something weird. I don't know what it said, and then I was like, Hugs and Hustle. I'm like, that's really cool because, my experience with healing past trauma and healing and growing in business, it is a hustle, it's intentional time. It takes time and it takes daily effort, day-to-day things, make foundational success.
That's pretty interesting because technically you go back to the military, how when, we go into different countries and when our methodologies is hearts and minds, you win over the hearts and minds. Mm-hmm. And so in business, you win over hearts and minds.
Yep.
And you're hustling. That's how you get it.
Yep.
It's by the hugs. You're winning them
by the
over.
Hugs, yep.
I'll charge you later.
Yeah,
Put
right.
it on my bill.
Hey, let me write that down. Hold on.
So now you have Creative Event Agency.
Yes.
Now, can you just dive a little bit into how, because I remember when you started it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been a while. So it's been 8 years as a business owner this year, which is, an entrepreneur this year, which is really exciting. I started when I was 18. So just through the ups and downs of being a teenager, growing into what I thought was a woman into now being a woman, and what that even entails. And then also just figuring out what entrepreneur means, what I want, getting clear on, what I even want to do in life. And so that's evolved. It was events at first from the start. COVID kind of happened. That thing happened. And then, last year was kind of a rest period and I had to pivot. So instead of, collapsing in, I just was like, okay, how can I adjust this to get a further reach, create a better foundation for myself while also, still making income. And so we switched it over to branding. So we're an image consultant business and we do business branding. So what we do is we look at everything. We're kind of like your marketing chaos coordinators is what we want to call it. Yeah. And then we bring in professionals like yourself to go a little bit deeper on certain things like website, like photography and videography, things like that, to really create this cohesive image and create kind of like systems in place for that expansion and the growth for the companies that we work for. It's multiple location businesses.
So when it comes to businesses and branding, a lot of people don't realize how methodically you have to approach
it's an art form,
your image, right? Mm-hmm. It's like PR.
Yeah.
So you're almost pretty much working on the PR side of the house, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I pretty much value at what you do and impressed about where you've come from. Because I remember when we first started,
I know,
and then now just talking to you even before, we started our podcast before we went live, you'll be surprised at how much the depth of what you've, you perfected your craft.
Yes. Thank you.
So how far you can go into it.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed. So
Thank you.
our first time, because like it goes back to when what was that, the Cocoa Beach Chamber, when it was a Wednesday Friends Day.
I was 19 years old. So if you
did
do
not
the math,
look
if you do the math, that was coming up on, that'll be almost 7 years we've known each other.
That's crazy, right?
Yep.
Dang, time flies. But
I know.
but growth is important.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why like I wanted you on the podcast. You know, some people be like, oh, well, why do you have, you know, your competitor, or is there a competitor on, because we're in the same niche? In the reality of things, we're in business together, right? And so I want to see you advance just as much as you would want to see me succeed. But it's about building that strong network, because hey, wherever I go, I'm bringing my network with me, right?
Exactly.
And that's the whole point. It's not like crabs in a bucket.
Right. Well, and you know, we focus on different things. So that's something that I do teach, is like, there is no competition but yourself. Absolutely no competition. I mean, I'm friends with you. I'm friends with other people. I'm friends with other mindset coaches. You know, the only competition is yourself. You can only look at what you are doing. And in the grand scheme of things, you know, when there comes a client and say if they're looking at us both, they're going to choose the one that they vibe with the most. And no training in the world can teach you anything other than just be yourself. And some clients work for you and some clients don't.
And there's more clients in the sea.
1,000,000 times over.
I mean?
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the things I don't get caught up on. Is a small competition.
No, it doesn't matter.
Because guess what? The big fish up there, they're like, look, they're
don't
getting
see
money.
It.
Yeah. They're like,
they're working on themselves.
Watch all those down there. This is what happens down
fighting
below
over
the sea.
breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
That's all it is, breadcrumbs.
You know, so in order to separate yourself, everyone has to build each other and push each other up.
Exactly.
So I admire that. Now, what kind of special projects, and I'm not trying to go too fast here because like you have so much value to add.
Thank you.
So we will cover a little bit, and then we're definitely going to have you back on the show if possible.
Awesome.
So what special projects are you working on now?
Oh goodness. I guess the main one that I'm trying to work on right now is growing my mindset coaching business. So really growing that Facebook page that I have, keeping it positive. That's going to be the biggest one, because I believe anything in life that you do starts within yourself. And a lot of people don't know the steps it takes to get there. And they're still struggling in personal relationships, friendships, business. Their business isn't going anywhere. They're stagnant, or they're stagnant in work, or they don't have passion. They don't, you know, they're just like, I feel stuck. And it all starts with healing in yourself and changing your mindset.
I think that's important. That's like a business that's always going to be there.
You know, internal growth.
Yeah. And
we're always going.
And you know the reason why?
Because you never arrive.
See, there's an example of that, right? Very profound. But because everyone needs to be motivated. Like, I think in that this goes to entrepreneurship and being in business. If you don't have the intrinsic motivation to keep yourself going when there is no light, no fire, there's no nothing, because everybody's against you.
Oh yeah,
everybody. No one wants to see you succeed, and they will not. And they admit
do
it or
until
not.
It's past them.
If they admit exactly, no key point.
Yeah.
But if you understand that is pretty much, you'll understand the ones who are genuinely supporting you.
Exactly.
Because it will show. You know, they're sharing your Facebook post, even if it's simple as sharing your Facebook post. You're not spending any money.
Like and share them Facebook posts, people.
Exactly.
Don't just scroll. Don't do it.
Facebook's against us. They're against the man.
Exactly.
I mean, they're working with the man.
Yeah, so, it's horrible.
The algorithm.
Yes. That constantly changes. Yeah, it's not fun.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. That's a whole
nother podcast. I'll come back for that.
People don't get it though.
No. Nope.
They're missing the boat.
They want us to spend so much money to keep up with it when all it takes is a supportive community.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
Yep.
Support.
Yep.
Think of all the people that see it, and we can see who sees it, not personally, but we can see how many people see it. And it's sickening when you see that. And it's like, you know, hundreds of people are seeing your stuff, thousands of people, and you have like 20 likes.
Yeah.
You know? Oh. Or even 20 people and you have one like. It's like, oh, hello, can we just stop?
You can't even gauge. You can't even gauge it anymore because, like, even look at your personal Facebook.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a person with 1,000 friends.
Right.
I mean, it's up there, but not.
I've had mine since the beginning of Facebook, so I do have a lot of friends. I should probably clean out my friends list.
But they're not seeing it.
Nope.
they've gone to the point of where they're restricting what your friends or what you're seeing in your news feed. They're only showing you things, so you have to go look at your friends' news feeds and you have to share based upon
intentional engagement.
Exactly. That is crazy. That's getting smarter than people anyway.
It's scary, but anyways. Whatever.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So with the keeping it positive, that's how you help people. You find time to help people on that side of the house.
Yes.
But then you also do, with your coaching, you do habit building.
Yes. So we kind of dive into the real side of what a habit is, and that equates to how to crush your goals, not just set them. And then leave it. It's like setting your goal on the shelf. Like, I'm going to look at that every day, but you never grab it again. It's just there forever, and it collects dust. So we learned kind of how to crush goals, how to set them correctly, the art behind of setting a habit. And yeah, it's like a daily thing for me. And I started it just because I personally wanted to be positive every single day, even if it was for a moment. And that was part of my healing, was like, okay, I really need to commit myself and create accountability. So I created it at the end of July last year, and it's been 6-7 months. We're at 1.6 thousand people, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I post every single day. I try to do mornings, and if I miss it, I do something every single day. A positive quote, something to share to help uplift other people. But it's always a reminder for myself first than it is me trying to say something. It's always something I meditated on that day.
That's pretty awesome. And you know what though? You get a chance to, it's healing for you too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cause
that's my special time.
No, I thought about that too. Like, how much, in business, you have so many thoughts that go through your head that you want to help people.
Right.
A lot of times I don't get it out.
Right.
And if you don't get it out and keep it to yourself, who is it helping? Nobody.
Like, if it ain't on the schedule, it ain't happening. If it's not written down, you're not going to remember it.
Absolutely. So, and then that's the thing. Like, how do you, people make their New Year's goal, right? New Year come around and they make their goal. And it's like, I don't need any help with, habit building and goal setting. I feel like I have this under control.
Yeah.
Is that really true? Like, how do you poke holes in that to really identify and show someone, like, look, this is where you can improve in your personal life and in business with habit building and goal setting?
It starts with review, always reflect, review. So that's the first question I always ask everybody. It's like, well, I've already got this. So like, how do I continue to grow? It's like, okay, well, let's look on, last year, what was your goal? Did you achieve it? And most of the time, like, well, kind of, or some people are like, hell yeah, I did. I said, okay, great. So how can we make this goal bigger? Because if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough, right? Yeah. You hear that all the time. That's super true. But it's always a reflect and review first. Let's look at last year. Let's look at the year before. What did you do? And then apply it to this year. I see a lot of people too, they'll make these big goals where I just posted about that actually. I'm super honest on my social media platform, so you should probably follow me. I'm just like, listen, I failed. Okay, here's what it is. But I think
we all have.
I was honest about, one of my goals this year. I wanted to be like, I want to read 4 books a month. Okay. Well, I reflected and reviewed, and I said I didn't finish 1 book last year. I started a lot. I didn't finish 1 book. Podcasts are a different story, but that didn't happen. So I said, okay, well, what's a realistic goal that I can set for myself this year? What were my habits last year that I can, because habit building is always with a reward system, right? So it's like, okay, how, if you want to wake up early, you can't just wake up early for 21 days and then you have a habit. Absolutely not. Because once that 21 days is up, you're going to be like, I'm sleeping in, right? So what reward can you attach to that? And for me, the reward in itself, which sounds super cliche, but is to finish a book. So for me, I just gave myself a time frame of 8 weeks. I want to give myself whatever I start, I need to make sure I finish in 8 weeks. And then we break it down even more. It's like, okay, well, how do we achieve that? What does your schedule look like during the day? When can you fit in chapters or just pages daily, right? Yeah. If you wake up and you have a morning routine, great, let me add 5 pages every morning. Whatever, until I get used to those 5 pages, and then I add a little bit more. It's all incremental.
So Victoria,
yes, That went off on a on a rabbit trail for a little bit.
No. That is awesome. If you're like, is that like in relation to someone who is paying attention to their diet, and you can tell how well like disciplined they are?
Yeah.
Those are the same type of habits that you would need in order to take control of your life.
Yeah.
And with your goal setting. So that's
Fitness,
a tip.
Business, personal.
So
I don't have kids, but maybe kids. Let me know how it goes.
So what
Not yet.
What is the tip?
Please.
What is the tip for what is the tip for you have for people with habit building and goal setting?
Oh goodness. My biggest tip is to just do small things day to day, because the small things, and I say this all the time as a reminder for myself, small things day to day create the foundational success for everything. So when you're looking at it, reflect and review, and then see what you can implement day to day on a small scale, and just grow that incrementally. You know, how do you keep adding that on? For anything, any kind of anything, that's how you build a habit. And positive reinforcement. Always got to have that positive reinforcement.
Yeah, you're right.
Like a gold sticker on your forehead. Like, good job. You know, treat yourself like a 5-year-old. That's okay.
One of the things, too, I try to keep myself is to stay positive. You know, when there's a negative situation, like absorb it. Yeah, you can cry about it for a moment.
Oh, yeah, definitely cry.
Don't cry to people about it because they don't care.
Cry to yourself.
You know what I mean? You may cry to your one person or your friend, but just take about 10, 15 minutes to get it out.
Yep, exactly.
If you don't have a solution, just go ahead and soak it up and just start thinking of something positive. Like, what can you take positive out of the situation? Because your goal setting, and when you're trying to achieve those goals, they're going to be a little bit tougher to achieve at times. And they're going to seem like
failure.
And everything is against you.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, whoa.
Misery
take a step
loves
back.
company. Misery loves company.
Yeah.
And so that's the hardest part about when you set a goal and you're trying to build a habit, is you're going to fail. Everybody fails. You're going to have that day where you're like, nope, no ma'am. I have them all the time. And how do you deal with that failure? You know, do you have negative self-talk about it? Or do you feel it? Like you said, cry about it if you need. I'm a crier. I got to cry. I take 5 minutes and I'm like, ah! And then I'm like, okay, breathe. How are we going to, what's next? That is how you take it. I know I told you earlier, it's kind of like, the ball thing. So I throw you a ball, you take it, and then you acknowledge it. And you're like, okay, this is a ball. It's blue. It's round. Okay, great. And then we toss it, right? So that's the hardest part about staying positive, is to take those quote unquote negative thoughts or emotions, which are never bad. It's all good and for you. But you take those and you think of the opposite, right? So you take it, you acknowledge it, and then you're like, okay, but like, what if this happened, right? So instead of like, oh, I'm a failure, I'm never going to do this. It's like, well, what if I do that? What if I do achieve that? That is where the power comes in, with always combating a negative thought immediately with a positive thought, which is really, really hard to do because, again, misery loves company. And it's that comfort in like, oh, but I'm just so bleh, and it's bleh, and it's bad. It's like you have to get in the habit of combating it with a positive thought immediately. Don't let it sit.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we have a saying in the military. It's almost like, what was it? If it sucks, how does it go? We love it if it sucks.
Yeah, right.
You know what
exactly.
I mean?
It means growth.
Yeah,
right?
because
growth is uncomfortable.
You got to go through it. And then it's almost like you build a habit anyway once you start becoming positive.
Oh, yeah.
Some people don't like that because it's like,
oh, I get it all the time. Oh, she's just so positive. I'm like, I'm negative too, but I just learned how to deal with my emotions because I practice it. It is a practice.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, when you say people's perception of you, how has life been in business for you? Like, what have been some of your biggest challenges? I know the list.
Entrepreneur challenges. I only have one. That's weird. There's multiple all the time. There's constant challenges. Every day's up and down. The biggest challenge, I think, has been through COVID with last year has just been the time, and this is something I'm continuously learning, right? We never arrive, but is learning how to just rest. That has been a big challenge for me because it goes with the, busyness is productivity, which is not, busy doesn't mean productive. Productive means productive, whether how much time that takes or not. Yeah. But learning how to just adjust my business in the world resting, like the world took a nap.
And I love that part.
Right. And then I'm like, okay. And mind you, like this was events only that I was doing. And so I had to really pivot, and adjust, and I could either like cave in, or I could continue to flourish and just keep it moving, keep it positive is what I say all the time, because I'm like, again, for myself, I have to remind myself of that all the time. But that's been my biggest challenge, is just learning how to take that downtime and apply it, and learn if I need to, just rest if I need to, and then pick everything back up and keep walking on the sidewalk, sidewalk of life. It's like, just sit for a second if you need to sit. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're losing traction. It means you're working smarter, not harder. And so last year was hard because it was like, holy crap, what now? And and so through that, it taught me a big lesson of, you do need to rest. Take these days, once a week instead of once every quarter. Yeah. It's like, you don't need to do that.
Bill Gates goes on his, what is this, retreats, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like 2 weeks or something like that.
It's so necessary. You have to rest. You have to rest for creativity and your brain. And, if you don't get a break, you get tired and you get worn out. And that's when you get that plateau. And then you feel stuck and you feel passionless. It's like, well, have you taken a day to breathe? Turn your phone off? Goodness.
I do think that it was a challenging time too with COVID. But I looked at it as, I'm the kind of guy that when you're sleeping, I'm hustling. Yeah. I'm getting it.
You're on a different schedule.
Yeah. But at the same time, no, because I'm getting extra ahead. Right. And every little bit of opportunity I do get. But at the same time, remember, I still need rest because that's the only way I'm going to think clear.
You're going to get burnt out.
Yeah, and think clear though. Yeah. The reset. So you're going to
start making mistakes. You start, getting rid of some detail. It's like, just take a day, reset, recharge, and like take care of you,
Because I think that the COVID, when, the pandemic, and we're still in it, right? We're still on the other side. We don't even know where it's at. So
hopefully.
But you learn to innovate and think ahead, 5 steps ahead. Oh, yeah. Right? So, like, the way you took charge during that time, I think that that's commendable, right?
Thank you.
Because of the results that you are seeing now, fruits of your labor, of how you re-strategized, restructured, and pivoted, and you just said, I'm gone. Right. So, I'm moving forward in that manner. But I think that a lot of other people sometimes get stuck in those ruts, and they start running in a circle. And they're digging a hole in the circle because they're running in the same track, not willing to step out of their comfort zone.
Isn't that like the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing, getting the same results, and not moving forward or something like that? I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. They get in that spin cycle and they can't shake it.
Yep.
Or they don't build up the nerve. So this is where I think people like you and this podcast in particular, hopefully is providing information to people to get them out of that wash. Right. To be able to say, hey, you have it. Just do something with it. Right. Now, when I did get into getting 5 steps ahead, I actually got addicted to, I'm not a school person, but I got addicted to learning my craft, getting better.
When you absorb and you're growing, it's like the learn, sorry, I'm like burping. It's the, like, what is it? Learn what you do, launch what you do, and then you love what you do. And as you're learning, you get to love it because you get to see the fruits of your labor, right? It's like, oh my goodness, like I'm learning and it's actually paying off. It's not just, what high school and middle school where we're just like learning things we need to know. And you're like, okay, algebra, I don't know how I'm going to apply this, but we'll figure it out. I guess algebra, calculus or something crazy. I don't know. I don't always have a calculator around with me. But yeah, I mean, it's learning loving as you're learning. Because especially as an entrepreneur, when you apply it to your business, it's benefiting you and your clients, which ultimately benefit your company.
And you have to be loyal to it. Like you cannot go so far and you actually get clients and you're doing something
and then you go
and you're like, it's not doing what you want fast enough. And in that reality, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right. Or you stop learning. Like, you're like, okay, I've arrived. Now I'm going to stop learning from people. It's like, whoa.
Because you're impacting so many other people too.
Exactly. You cannot cap off. Like, you have to continue to be a teacher or a student. Always, always, always be a student.
So as you're being a student, right, and you start a business, right, like, oh, I'm going to go start this business. That's fine. But you need to determine who's your ideal client, right? And
Love this topic.
You pretty much help businesses or you help entrepreneurs or business owners develop and determine what their ideal client is, right?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Ooh, this is long. No, but really the main question is, you know, who's your favorite client? Who's that one client that you have that's like, wow, I wish I could just have like 20 of you and then like retire, because they're just so awesome. They don't micromanage. They've got the budget. They're just ready to move forward. They're excited about everything and they trust you.
Oh, I love those. Because you have the freedom to make it happen.
And be creative.
Yes.
You know, like entrepreneurs, we're creative. We did this to make our own way and to be fully creative without restrictions of corporate. And so when you work with a client where they have these restrictions up and it's like, it feels stifling and you will not get the results that could possibly come from this person that you're working with because you're stifling them. When they have full range of creativity, that's when the magic happens. And that growth is like just out the gate, you know? But it all starts with trust. You know, you have to have that like, know, and trust factor.
Yeah. So, you know, like, you know, having an ideal client, I think that is one of the things that is overlooked the most.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, my ideal client. Yeah, I know it. Yeah, I'm at fault, too. I'll admit it.
Everybody does. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, we put a few things down. This is my ideal client. All right, I'm going to go get them. All right, like, here, I already got it. Like, I don't narrow it down a lot more like we probably should. And we just, look, we're not.
It's the hustle.
I'll let you know when we're in a different tax bracket. But the show and production and everything, I have a camera following me around and my team in Toria too.
Right, Victoria. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm here.
But, you know, we all can improve. And these are the things that we help each other on.
Right.
Because this, you know, we learn from each other from a friendship side, business partner and business acquaintances. Yeah, right.
Say it with a weird mouth.
Make sure I say it right.
Sounds uncomfortable. I don't know.
So now, Victoria, being a woman in business, like I have
great topic.
friends that are women in business on high level. One in particular, Tiffany Finch, she's like freaking like high exec.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we kind of mentioned and we talked about was the fact of how difficult it is at times. You have to have more of a backbone, sit up taller, you know.
Yep. Gotta have it together.
Speak with a deeper voice.
I know. My voice drops like 30 decimals when I get in meetings. Yeah.
So how has that been?
Oh, goodness. Well, not only just women in business, but being young. So starting at 18, I will be 26 in March. It's coming. 30's around the corner.
Look, you don't stop saying your age.
I know. I'm sorry. I know. But, you know, being young, growing up through it, and being a woman has shown its difficulties. Of course, you know, everything is just a challenge. It's not a blockade. But, you know, moving through that and you're walking in a room with, you know, business owners and executives who have been doing it for years, right? And most of them are men. The business is a man's world, and we're turning it, which is amazing, and I'm super excited to see that. But a lot of it, they are men, and it's just been the culture, you know, for a while. It's been rough. You know, you have to learn how to set boundaries with kindness and sternness, and make sure to really like, boop, no, we're not doing that. And then, you know, just dealing with creepy people, which are just, you know, everywhere, business or not. They're in your local Walmart, doesn't matter.
Men are a victim to creepy people.
Men are a victim to creepy people, yes. But yeah, just going back to women in business, it definitely has its challenges. But, you know, as long as you again, coming back to setting boundaries with kindness and assertiveness is very important, and making sure that it's done with kindness. And so you don't come off as, a jerk.
So,
trying not to cuss.
We were talking kind of before too, and I just kind of wanted the listeners kind of get exposed to it too, because there's some nuggets that we always talking, and we always get a lot of nuggets out of the conversation.
I know,
that we have,
and then
right?
they're like laying on the floor.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna pick one up.
Yeah.
So you actually do, when you're in meetings.
Yes.
How do you control being a woman and get that assertiveness?
Yeah.
Is there a certain place that you place yourself at the meeting?
I always sit at the head of the table in meetings, and that has just become a habit. Because in certain situations, I know we talked about, there's, different types of alpha. There's one true alpha, but we're able to kind of be a chameleon, right? And so some of the times we like to sit back and observe. But a lot of the times, if I walk into a meeting, maybe not knowing who's there, or knowing there's going to be a lot of men and higher up execs, or kind of like, bosses there, I like to sit at the head of the table to assert dominance, but also, make it to where it's like, hey, I'm here to respect and listen to you, and I'm here to grow. I want you to do the same for me. And it kind of just takes this stance as like, hey, I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm also early for those meetings as well. But yeah. So
I went into a meeting and I went to sit at the head of the table, and they were like, yeah, this is for that's an assigned owner. Seat. That's the owner's. I'm like, okay, I'm an owner.
Right.
I'm a big boy too, right?
Who is he?
Have you ever had that situation where it's like, no, you can't sit right there?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. I don't know if it's just me sitting there being so confident. They're like, did she call this meeting? Yeah. I don't know. Who is this lady?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. No, but I think those are some good techniques that you should, if there are women in business who are listening to this, are considerate, because it's just not either male or female driven.
No, it's if you're walking in and you're not sure, or you feel as if you haven't been taken seriously, I suggest you go sit at the head of the table.
Now, I would say, there are times where I've sat not necessarily all the way in the back, or like, you remember Office Space?
In the shadow. You're just
no, but I've sat further back in a room, but I was there for a reason. I was still engaged, and I was paying attention to all who was there at the table.
You're observing.
So I understand how to either close this deal some kind of way from this angle. Because I know that person's personality. I know he's a stakeholder. I know she's a stakeholder.
Exactly.
This one's more aggressive versus that one. Then when it was my time to talk, I still have relevant things to bring to the meeting and to the table.
Right.
And be able to
You're like the closer. Yeah. You work the room, and you're like, okay, let them spin their tornado and talk all crazy. And you just kind of take your notes, and you're like, then you kind of just walk in, and you're like, I'm here. We're going to close this right now.
Here's the solutions. Right.
Exactly.
So, but then at the same time too, there are times where being back there isn't ideal. Right. So you have to be able to distinguish when is it and when is it not to do it.
Which just takes practice, by the way. Like, it is an art form, networking, period. Like, you have to learn how to do it, and you have to learn how to be that chameleon, where it's like, do I kind of puff my chest right now, or do I sit back and observe? What is the right thing to do? And you're going to get it wrong sometimes. That's okay. Life is lessons. Right?
And you've been assertive ever since day one I met you. So
I think that's just my personality.
Yeah. Too. So it comes easy to you. Yeah. So now going back to Hugs and Hustle, right? Coaching. Is your ideal client a woman?
It was. When I first started it, I was really passionate about helping women heal their past relationship trauma. And then I realized really quickly that's very heavy. And I don't think that as an empath, I can continuously catch the ball and release it that often, because it is personal for me. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, let's rework this. So right now, working on a more specific ideal client, but really right now for that is just someone who has those negative thoughts, maybe somebody with anxiety that's looking to eradicate it. They want to move forward in life. They really, really want it. They have to want it. Not like, I have this problem, but I'm going to stick in my comfort zone. They're tired of their own shit. Like, they're done. They're over it. That is the type of person, for now, that would be a best fit. Or if you want to join the group, it's just someone that needs a little uplifting, day to day.
Heck yeah. That's pretty awesome though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that could be a lot. That could be draining.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, it is.
So you have to have a lot to give and recover to be able to help.
Yeah. And it's not my only thing. So it's like, I have another business, and that also is an empathetic business that I lead with. And so it's like, that's coaching in itself with that business, is working with those business owners on like strategy and emotion behind a brand and the feeling. And it's all, it's all empathetic. And so it's like, it's a lot of outgoing energy. And I'm like, okay, this one, we're not going to do that. We're not going to make this so heavy over here. We're going to keep it light.
There you go. There you go. Well, now look, so what are the most fun times that you've had at business along this journey? Because a lot of times you can sit there and be negative, but I tell you what, I feel like being in business, you're bipolar.
Oh yeah.
But you got to learn how to manage it though.
Oh my goodness.
Because you're just like, there'll be days or weeks or even a month and you're like, what in the heck is going on?
You're like, am I depressed? What's going on? What's wrong with me?
But then when you focus, then next thing you know, it's like, holy crap. Like,
you're on top of the world.
We're doing this. We're doing it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
like, okay, let's go. Let's try not to get ahead of myself.
Live the high, enjoy it, and don't ride it for too long.
Right.
Celebrate it, but don't,
Always what's next.
Yes.
Right. And like that can be a good thing or a bad thing. That's something I struggle with a lot of times, is I'm like, awesome, I got this great contract. I got this awesome client. Okay, what's next? And I'm like, all right, let's enjoy it for a second. It's the same thing with those negative feelings and emotions, whatever, they're all good, but negative things, just as the positive things. It's like, okay, feel it, but let it go and let's keep moving. But don't forget to feel the good times, because that is what keeps you moving forward, is trying to get to those good times, right? But it is learning how to enjoy the lows, because there's entrepreneurship, it's daily sometimes. Daily you can be like this, and you have to learn how to, I call it stepping out of the pickle jar. So how to not get all wrapped up in the swirl of all inside the jar is how to step out of it and say, okay, I'm observing this and I'm acknowledging it. I'm not necessarily absorbing what's going on. And that's just in life in general, but definitely in entrepreneurship, because it's a journey, a long journey.
So, because you're very empathetic, right? Like, how do you help? Not necessarily, do you only focus on business owners, or do you focus on managers, employees, and things like that too? Because when you get into managing, you have to have that empathy. Yeah. And
it's a hard thing to juggle, like you were talking about earlier, a lot of personalities. I mean, everybody's different. You have to think of your own past, childhood trauma, whatever it is, maybe it's not so traumatic, but it's, just your own childhood has its own experiences. And now multiply that by how many employees that you have. It's like, holy crap. Oh, yeah. It's like, how do you, for it, my God, you need a company counselor. Like, how do we stay on top of things? And I know my friend Seth Hickerson, he does that. He has a company for that, where he goes in and like infiltrates the company, with employees, and how to create these positive mindset habits and habit building. And
give a shout out to Seth, Dr. Hickerson. Seth, like, I connected those two, by the way.
That's right. Yep, it's all you.
Network. No, I don't get any credit for that.
I know. No, we have a plaque with your name on it. It's like, our friendship is because of Dana.
Nice.
I'm just kidding.
Right with a heart.
Yeah, right. I know. It's like, but yeah, he's great with that, and he focuses on those individuals. As far as my company, we like to focus on one point of contact. Now, if that one point of contact, because we do only deal with multiple location businesses, if they have something that's needed that's more, we would refer out to Seth, because it's something that I have thought about. Again, it's heavy. When you start dealing with individuals, it gets really heavy. And I can only imagine when I get to the point where I have like multiple employees and I've got like, this stuff, it's like, I'm thinking about that now, because I know that's where I'm going to be very soon. And it's like, how do I create a good foundation of tools and resources for the people that will be working with me? How do I do that? And it's all about learning. It's talking to you. It's talking to Seth. It's talking to business owners who have that struggle already, and, trying to hear you out, trying to offer some things and see what works and just like follow up with it. Cause I mean, that's all learning is about, is adjusting to be able to avoid certain things in the future that you're going to hit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't have kids again, but I'm like parenting.
Oh, and if you want to know who the infamous Dr. Seth Hickerson is, feel free to check him out. And he is probably going to sponsor this episode later on. But
we're going to have his face right here the entire time.
You can find him at boostabove.com.
Yes, that's what it is, Boost Above. See, I totally messed that up.
So I kind of skipped over the question, but just to wrap this up, I want to know what's the most funnest time
how did we get
experience
off that trail?
That's how it goes. That's how conversations. So that's probably me. Cause like squirrel.
Yeah.
Like,
1,000%. Yeah.
So like how much fun you have? What's the most memorable experience that you had in business so far?
Oh my God.
Was it your best deal close?
That's a hard thing. I mean, I think the most fun that I have, and this probably is like super annoying, but the most fun that I have is learning new things. Every time that it's almost like a video game for me. I'm kind of like masculine thought process. I'm very like put it in boxes, like I'm very like, I don't know if that's a masculine thing. Might be like an executive thing. I don't know. But I think like that. So for me, it's like a video game. I'm like leveling up. Oh, I collected a star. Yay. So every time that I learn, it's like, oh, I got this thing. Let's put that away. Now I learned this. I've leveled up, right? I'm ready for the next thing even more than I would have been. And so for me, it's learning and just dealing with my awesome, wonderful, fantastic employee, Megan. She's so great. And she's been so patient on this journey of learning how to be an entrepreneur. Hey, Megan. Yeah, you're awesome. And then, my meetings with her, because I get to collaborate and I get to learn how to treat your people correctly, how to deal with them, how to include them in your decisions, how to really cultivate a community. And so those moments with her and moments of learning to me are so satisfying and so much fun, because I'm like, wow, I am like growing, right?
Wow. You just hit on a big point.
I don't remember what I said.
No, the fact of like Megan, because you're
going to have to turn this volume down because I'm laughing like a crazy person.
So you put in your time and you put in your effort, and Megan is actually learning, right? And you're learning from each other.
Right.
That's how I see it. Like when our employees are pretty much my teammates.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Partnership.
I'm nothing without them. And hopefully they realize they're nothing without me. Right.
Hopefully it's mutual.
But the thing is that you're like, I always, I encourage building your number two.
Yes.
Because once you build your number two, they are an extension of you and your culture that you're developing.
Cultivating community.
Exactly.
Yes.
But then now, because if you bring in too many people, your culture is affected. And now you have a chaotic deal when you're trying to organize your culture. But if you have that solid person that can deal with that.
Right.
And
it's an extension of you. So it's like, it's the trust thing again. It's like, the trust is huge. I remember when I first was, I'm sure you remember when I was like, hey, I'm looking to hire, I'm looking to bring somebody on. And it was I remember those 6 months before I started saying that, even during that process of me actually like voicing that to people, I was terrified. This has been my baby, even if it was a side thing for a while. It's been my baby for a long time. And to be able to delegate is to trust, to be able to, you have to have serious confidence in yourself and what you do, which is why inner growth is so important to trust people, because at the end, it's just like relationships. It's like somebody was saying that the other day. They're like, well, I'm afraid to trust. It's like, well, you have to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, it doesn't matter who leaves you. It doesn't matter what they take from you. Nobody can take anything from you if you've got your own back. And that's something like that is I'm so passionate about, because I'm like, you need to have your own. You need to get it together, have your own, and then it doesn't matter. Then you can trust with caution, but you can trust and know, like, if Megan were to leave me tomorrow, it's like, I love her and I wish her luck. There's no bad blood. It's like, I do me how I do me. And that's why there's no other competition but yourself. 1,000%.
I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's like, you
it's
beat
hard
me
to
or
get
I'm
there.
competitive.
Yeah.
I'm a friendly competitor.
And like, I've had to work on that.
I will beat you.
Yeah.
I will beat you no matter. You may get 1 or 2, but guess what? I'm gonna come out and win this thing.
Yeah.
So
it's a hard thing to
but
work
trust
on.
is
Yeah.
definitely important.
Yep.
So that is something that I've worked on as well, right?
Yeah.
And because you put all your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and even your personal experiences, you don't want them to interfere with your business.
Right. Well, that's why you set up
too.
boundaries legally, but at the end of the day, like, you have to have your own back. You got to know, like, okay, and if I set it up and at the end of the day, like, is it worth my energy? Yeah. And that's the biggest question is, like, you know, maybe you are competitive, but is that energy of competitiveness and anger worth giving to that? Or do you want to cultivate it into growing a client even bigger so they don't even matter anymore?
Well, and
you know what I'm saying? And it's like that, like, I think the problem is a lot of people will, you know, it is that, like, protect thing, because we do work so hard on ourselves. And like you said, blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, yeah, like, look at your business. Look at all the time that you've put into, but it's learning how to live detached. And that is hard. And I'm speaking the truth here because I live it day to day. I mean, it's not anything that I'm like, I've arrived, because no. But, you know, it's something I have to remind myself of all the time is, like, how do I detach while still caring? You know, like, it's like, it comes back to the competitive thing. It's like, just go.
But see, I'm competitive too. Like, and I don't want people to get it construed. It's the fact of, like, you know, I'm competitive to the point where I'm a friendly competitive.
Right. Yeah.
But, like,
you're like rubbing elbows, like, okay, let's go. Where you want to race? Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you know, you really want to race me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat you.
You're like, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to think about it. You sure?
Yeah. And then I'll beat you. And then it's like, all right, we're still buddies.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
In a sense. So, I think, but
that's that leveling up. You're like, all right.
But that's the drive that I have, because sometimes every time when you think you made it, you really haven't made it.
No.
You haven't made it.
And the universe will humble you so fast.
Exactly. Because no matter where you're at, someone else is working hard to get where you're at.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you're not, and then you want to get to where you are and give back.
Exactly.
Help to other people.
Right.
So that's one of the big main points of One Real Story.
Yeah.
Is to give back, and hopefully our audience is getting a lot back from us.
Yeah.
And you sharing your experiences.
Yes, I always share my experience. The only way I can learn is from failing, literally.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
So this is real talk. So this is really unorthodox,
unstructured.
Yeah, exactly. See?
Yeah.
And so thanks again for coming. And I will put all of your contact information in the description below. Do you have any closing thoughts you would like to share with everyone?
No, I think that was a lot. So process that. Maybe watch it a few times if you need to. I don't know. I kind of ramble. So thanks if you're watched all the way through, thank you for listening to me go on and on.
No worries. And thank you to our listeners, our subscribers. If you're watching it on YouTube, or if you're watching it, listening on the podcast or through the website or whatever, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Like and subscribe. This is this YouTube thing that everyone is doing here. So
and
I guess you have
Facebook
share too, right?
Yeah.
We'll put her Keeping It Positive group in there.
Yes.
But make sure you hit the bell on the YouTube deal, because you won't get the notifications when we put new posts. So thanks again, everyone. And
thank you, Dana, for having me.
No, thanks. Look, this bang. All right, and I'll see y'all later. Thank you.